Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjam Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjam Bihari Gopi Janava Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janava Girivardhari Yasananana Rajanana Yasananana Rajanana Yamuna Tiranachahi Yamuna Tiranachahi Yamuna Tiranachahi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjam Bihari Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtanya ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
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 Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Antya Lila, Chapter 11, The Passing of Haridas Thakur. Text 31. Ekavanchahaya Marabahodina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Murachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ekavanchahaya Marabahodina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Murachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ekavanchahaya Marabahodina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Murachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ekavanchahaya Marabahodina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Murachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Ladies.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Ekavanchahaya Morabahudina Haite.
Lila Samvari Betumilaya Morachitte.
Lila Samvari samvarivetu milaya mora citte. Ekavanchahaya mora bahudina haite.
Lila samvarivetu milaya mora citte.
Lila samvarivetu milaya mora citte.
Ekavanchahaya mora bahudina haite.
Ekavanchahaya mora bahudina haite.
Lila samvarivetu milaya mora citte.
Lila samvarivetu milaya mora citte.
Ekavanchahaya mora bahudina haite.
Ekavanchahaya mora bahudina haite. Lila samvarivetu milaya mora citte.
Ekavancha, one desire. Haya, is. Mora, my. Bahudina, a very long time. Haite, since. Lila, your activities. Samvari betumi, you will close. Layamora chitte, I am thinking. Translation. I've had one desire for a very long time. I think that quite soon, my Lord, you will bring to a close your pastimes within this material world. Now, generally speaking, we don't comment when there's on a verse when there's no purport. However, there are 70 verses without purport, and that's too much. So, I'll say something about these verses, not in a spirit of competition with the acharyas, but simply 70 verses is not practical in one lecture. I don't know how to do that. So I've had one desire for a very long time, Haridas Thakur is saying. I think that quite soon, my Lord, you will bring to a close your pastimes within this material world. So Haridas Thakur is such a devotee. He is such a devotee that he has no other thoughts than the Supreme Lord. Haridas is chanting every day 300,000 names, which is the equivalent of 3 times 64 rounds, or 192 rounds every day. And not only one day, but every day. You know, one day would be something, right? You just go through and somehow or other grit your teeth and do it. And then the next day, maybe go to hospital for recovering. That is one thing. But to chant every day, that is extraordinary. That is extraordinary. And such a focus, how is it possible? How can anyone focus like that? It's very difficult. The big question that is raised again and again is, how do we focus when we're chanting? How can we keep the mind from going here and there and everywhere all over the universe? That is the question. And the answer to that is, when we have no other interest. When we have an interest in so many things in the universe, yes, then the mind will go there, naturally. But if our only interest is Krishna, then the mind will not go everywhere. So it's a matter, how can one have such one-pointed attention on Krishna, such as Haridas had? Only by love. Otherwise, mind goes here, there, everywhere. But if you really love someone or something very much, then you're thinking about it all the time. So we can understand the depth of Haridas's love, which never tires, that he's just able to keep that focus. And because of that intimate love, therefore Haridas was able to understand the ways of the Lord. And therefore he could understand that I think that quite soon, my Lord, you will bring to a close your pastimes in this material world. No ordinary person can understand such a thing. The ways of the Lord are generally inconceivable. Right? I mean, he's going to do whatever he's going to do, and who knows what he will do. And if only we would know, the future, then life would be much easier. Yes. And Haridas, but he knows that soon the Lord will close his pastimes within the material world. I wish Seilila Prabhu Mora Kabuna Dekaibe. Apanara Age Mora Sharira Padipa. I wish that you not show me this closing chapter of your pastimes. Before that time comes, kindly let my body fall down in your presence. It is said that Haridas Thakur was approximately 35 years older than Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu left this world when he was 48 years old. Right? So a quick calculation puts Haridas in his early 80s at this point in time. So it's not so surprising that he's also thinking about his impending death. Anybody in his 80s is sort of thinking like, well, it can happen any moment, and sort of thinking, well, but I would still like to see, right? I would still, or I would not like to see, right? Haridas did not like to see the departure of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, that would be too painful. Better I go first. Hridai darimuttamar kamalacharan Nayana dekimuttamar chandavandan. I wish to catch your lotus feet upon my heart and see your moon-like face. There may be many devotees who wish to catch the lotus feet of the Lord and place them on their heart, but it's not so easy, right? Because the Lord is moving according to his own will. And who can capture the Lord? That is the question. But it is said that devotional service is Sri Krishna Akarsani, that it attracts Krishna. Akarsani means attracts. And especially devotional service in pure love, that has the full potency to attract. Therefore, for Haridas Thakur, it was possible to attract. In the Bhagavatam, we also see how Bhishmadev, at the end of his life, Krishna personally came. Many came to visit Bhishmadev while he was on his deathbed, and Krishna came to visit him. That's not bad. That's different than lying on a dead bed and somehow or other playing a tape, and someone brings tulsi and Ganga water, and here we are, and everything, all the help we can get to remember Krishna. Antanarayana Smriti, because at the end one is meant to remember Krishna. But in the case of such extraordinary devotees who are filled with pure love of God, yes, then we see that Krishna is personally manifesting himself. And he was present. I wish to catch your lotus-like feet upon my heart and see your moon-like face. Jivaya ucharimuttamar Krishna Chaitanya Nama Emate Moreche Chadima Parama. With my tongue I shall chant your holy name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. That is my desire. Kindly let me give up my body in this way. So there are different interesting aspects to this. First of all, Haridas Thakur had really thought about it. Yeah? He really thought about it. Okay, I want to give up my body before the Lord. I will ask him. He had made a plan to ask the Lord, and he had sort of written a full script of what he was going to do. Take the lotus feet of the Lord on his heart, and then chant the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Which is also interesting because Haridas had been chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra his whole life. 300,000 times, that means constantly, that he had been chanting the holy name of Krishna. And now he, at the very end, he didn't want to chant the name of Krishna, he wanted to chant the name of Krishna Chaitanya. And that was very interesting, that personal name he wanted to chant, the name of his worshipable Lord. Haridas Thakur is described in the what's it called, the Deepika, the Chaitanya, Gaura Ganadesh Deepika. Yes, thank you. In the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika, he is described as a combination of Lord Brahma and Prahlad. So those things are always very bewildering, because how can someone be a combination? Right? It's like there's a soul, and so if the soul of Lord Brahma appears now as Haridas Thakur, that makes sense. So what's going on? Are there two souls sitting in the heart of Haridas? Or how can he be two personalities at the same time? Or is it a little different? Is it that he is one personality, and that the influence of a second personality is also manifesting through that one personality? That is more the proper understanding. So we're still dealing with one spirit soul, not with two spirit souls. So in this way we can understand that Haridas was an incarnation of Lord Brahma, but that the mood of Prahlad was also manifesting through him. Mare ichha yadi tomar prasade haya, e nivedan mara kore dayamaya. O most merciful Lord, if by your mercy it is possible, kindly grant my desire. E nichya deha mora padaka tave age, evancha sede mora tomate lage. Let this low-born body fall down before you. You can make possible this perfection of all my desires. Prabhu kahe Haridas, je tumi magibe, Krishna kripa maita avasya karibe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my dear Haridas, Krishna is so merciful that he must execute whatever you want. Kintu amarye kichu sukha saba tumalaya, tomar yogyanai jabe amar chadeya. But whatever happiness is mine is all due to your association. It is not fitting for you to go away and leave me behind. Charane dari kahe Haridas, nakari hamaya, avasyamu adame prabhu koraedaya. Catching the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridas Thakur said, my Lord, do not create an illusion. Although I am so fallen, you must certainly show me this mercy. More sirumani kata kata mahasai, tomalilar sahaya kuti bhaktahai. My Lord, there are many respectable personalities, millions of devotees who are fit to sit on my head. They are all helpful in your pastimes. Amahena yodieke kita marigela, eka piprika maile, pritivira kanhaila. My Lord, if an insignificant insect like me dies, what is the loss? If an ant dies, where is the loss to the material world? So it's interesting to see the exchange between the Lord and his devotee. and how Haridas expresses this desire. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu responds and says, my dear Haridas, the Lord is so merciful, He must surely fulfill your desire. Because Haridas had purchased the Lord by his unalloyed surrender. By unalloyed surrender, one can purchase Krishna. So he had purchased Krishna. Krishna Krishna, he had become totally the puppet in the hands of his devotee, totally brought under the control of his devotee. Therefore, whatever Haridas desired, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could not deny. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't denying it. He said, no, I don't, this won't happen. No, he didn't say that. He said that whatever you desire, yes, the Lord will certainly fulfill that desire. But, my dear Haridas, what will I do without you? Please don't leave. Please, don't leave me alone. But then Haridas came back and he said, no. There are so many wonderful devotees, and all these wonderful devotees, they are so qualified. And amongst them, what am I? I'm insignificant. And all these devotees are qualified to sit on my head. Therefore, if one insect disappears, it won't be a problem. The world will go on. Right? And in this way, Haridas was determined to leave. Bhakkata Vatsala Prabhu tumi muhe bhakta bhas avasya purebe Prabhu moreyas. My Lord, you're always affectionate to your devotees. I am just an imitation devotee, but nevertheless, I wish that you fulfill my desire. That is my expectation. So it's very nice that Haridas Thakur on one occasion was speaking about the chanting of the holy name in an assembly. Before him, some others had spoken, and they said, how amazing that through the chanting of the holy name, one can become liberated from all sinful reactions. Oh, said someone else. Not only that, by chanting of the holy name, one can become liberated from birth and death. Then Haridas said, this is actually not the result of chanting the holy name. This is simply the result of the dim reflection of the holy name. Of the Nam Abbas. Abbas means the dim reflection. And he explained, he said, just like early in the morning, as the sun is rising, before the actual globe of the sun appears in the sky, there's already light in the sky. And then at one point, the sun gets above the horizon. Then the full sun is there. So in the same way, the name, the reflection or the effulgence of the name is already present before the name is fully present. Only when there's pure chanting, then the name is fully present. So Nam Abbas is a dim reflection of the holy name, and it is chanted by those who are impure, who are making offenses against the holy name, who are maintaining material desires, who are disrespectful to the Vaishnavas, and they are chanting Nam Abbas. They cannot chant the pure name. And now Haridas, who is very much aware of this Nam Abbas, now he calls himself Bhakta Abbas. Right? Now he says, I am a Bhakta Abbas. Like Bhakta Abbas means the dim reflection of a devotee. So we can now sign our letters with Bhakta Abbas, dim reflection of a devotee. Yes. So Haridas's humility was also extraordinary. And of course, humility is one of the conditions for chanting. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahisuna manina manadina kirtanya sadahari. That one can only chant the holy name of the Lord if one is in a humble state of mind. So Haridas showed that extraordinary humble state of mind. First of all, Haridas was born in a Mohammedan family. So in a family of meat eaters, in a family that was opposed to Vedic culture. So in that way, Haridas was speaking of his very low birth. And throughout his life, he had never forgotten that. He never thought, now I'm a Vaishnava. See, so my birth doesn't count anymore. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, they had arranged, by an arrangement of Maharaj Prajaparuda, he had received residence in the house of Kasi Misra, which was very close to the temple of Lord Jagannath, so that it would be easy to take darshan. So then, at one point, all the devotees from Bengal, they came to visit for Ratha Yatra, and they came to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw them coming down the road. And next moment, they all were there offering obeisance, and they all came. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu greeted everyone and said, where is Haridas? I saw him earlier. So everyone looks, where is Haridas? Where is Haridas? And Haridas was lying at a distance in the road. He was offering obeisances in the road. And so Govinda, the servant of Lord Chaitanya, went there and said, come, the Lord wants to greet you. And Haridas said, no, I cannot go any further. I'm too fallen. I cannot come so close to the temple. Not only I cannot go in the temple, I cannot even come close to the temple. Therefore, he just was lying flat on the road at a distance. Then Lord Chaitanya personally went to Haridas. And then Lord Chaitanya arranged for Haridas to stay in a garden at some distance from the temple. And that garden is now known as Siddhabakul. And the local story is that Lord Chaitanya, that Haridas was just chanting the holy name there, sitting in the sun, in the hot sun, and that Lord Chaitanya brought a toothpick of Lord Jagannath, put it in the ground, and that became the tree of Siddhabakul. And that's why it's Siddhabakul. It's a transcendental Bakul tree, not just Bakul, but Siddhabakul. So there is Siddhabakul. Yes, so Haridas was a devotee who could really attract the Supreme Lord by his devotional service. And every day Lord Chaitanya would personally come to visit Haridas. And he also arranged that his servant Govinda was bringing Mahaprasadam from Lord Jagannath and so on. So Haridas is, what shall we say, the most extraordinary personality. The Nam Acharya, who simply appeared, to assist Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam Sangopangasta Parasadam. So Krishna appeared this time in a non-blackish form, and he was accompanied by Sangupangastra, by the very powerful weapons, astra, of his parsad, of his personal associates. So the personal associates, they came to fulfill the purpose of the Lord. So here's Haridas. So Haridas is faultless, Haridas is empowered, Haridas is, his whole existence is there for a particular purpose, to just expand the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. and to just show, to show to what extent chanting of Hare Krishna can really go. I mean, we are chanting Hare Krishna, and you know, it becomes a regular practice. It becomes something we do every day, and we build up a certain momentum, and we go through it in a regular rhythm and so on, and we have a certain concentration, and we try to chant nice rounds, and then it's over. Right? And then you can do other things, right? And we don't mind doing a few other things. You know, there's a few other things we actually wanted to do, right? But no, not Hari does. There are no other things he wants to do. Nothing else. Nothing else. We need to do a lot of other things in devotional service, and sometimes you wonder, am I engaged in devotional service according to my potential? I mean, I have a nature, right? I have a nature, I have a capacity. I have a certain, you know, no, you were laughing, but you know, I have a certain abilities, a certain intellectual power, artistic also, yes. And, you know, I could have been so many things, and sometimes I'm wondering, what should I really be? You know, what should I be? Should I have become a scholar, maybe? Or should I have just, sometimes think, should I have just done kirtan, only kirtan, sit down next to Indra in Vrindavan and do kirtan, what? Or should I have got a big sailing yacht and made it like a temple, since I have some Dutch sailor blood, you know? Maybe that would have been good, right? Like, you know, get an ocean yacht and just deities on board, and there you go. And once you got someone on board, they can't escape. You know. So so many possibilities, and then life is such that it forces you to make choices, and then you limit yourself by your choices. It's very difficult. By marrying one lady, you cannot marry the other. That's the problem. I mean, of course, some said in Vedic times you could have two, but not in modern times. But even in Vedic time, we saw Lord Ramachandra and Dasarat with a few wives got in big trouble. Yeah, so that was not a good idea. Choices limit us. And that is why choices are so difficult. I mean, would you like the burfi or the sandesh? Can I have both? Some know what choice they're going to make, you know. That is also there. But the world is full of choices. And that's why we're indecisive. I don't know what to do. Because I have all this potential. Of course, in the service of Krishna. Not for my own enjoyment, but, you know, for Krishna. What I could have been for Krishna. I could have been an opera singer for Krishna. Yes. And now, that's only under the shower. For the rest. So what about engaging our propensities? What about our potential? And what about limiting ourselves? And isn't that the difficulty of Hare Krishna? Hare and Krishna. Right? You've seen these horses with these two things at the side of their eyes, right? These covers, so that they will not be distracted by all the things they see. Hare Krishna. And so we go through the world. Looking through the fingers to see if there is anything more. Oh yes. And then there's this wonderful principle of dovetailing. Dovetailing is very nice, that you can just, whatever your propensities are, you can engage them in the service of Krishna. Haha. The opera is back. Isn't it great? And so we are very busy engaging our propensities. Oh yes. And you know, and well, you can stretch it. I mean, football is an example of that, because really, because you need to keep your body fit for Krishna. Instead of sitting all day in devotional service behind the computer, which is inevitable, yeah, you go and play a game of football, just so that you counteract all that computer sitting. There you go. All bona fide. Yes, dovetailing. Dovetailing is very nice in this way. But you can see in Haridas Thakur, there is no dovetailing. There's no psychology, applied psychology. What is my psychophysical nature? There simply is. Here's Krishna in the form of his holy name. This holy name is non-different from Krishna. Everything is there. Therefore, the taste in this chanting is unlimited. Therefore, there's just, a life is too short. A lifetime is too short to chant. Therefore, even if I use all the time I have this lifetime, it's too short to taste all the wonderful, glorious qualities of Krishna. Yeah, it sounds nice philosophically, we can appreciate it, but we see Haridas is living it. So Haridas sets an example which is, virtually speaking, impossible. Of course, we see some Vaishnavas like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur who did it, right? Who also chanted 1 billion names, right? Which meant he chanted for 10 years 300,000 names. So yeah, it's like again another inconceivable personality, right? Another personality with that incredible focus. So this is what it means, to get one-pointed attention instead of many-branched attention. And yes, of course, some people may be doing a great variety of service and engaging all their propensities, and Krishna is the focus. And then it's also perfect. Why not? If you have a talent, shouldn't you use it? Shouldn't you use it in the service of Krishna? Why not? But at one point, see, in the beginning, that can be a little dangerous, because what are we more attached to? To the service according to our propensity, or to the service of Krishna? What is more dear to us? That is the question. Yeah. It is said that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In the beginning, yes, we may be engaging our propensities in the service of Krishna, and then technically speaking, we call this karma yoga, that our bhakti is mixed with some fruitive intent. Like, I like to cook for Krishna, especially also because then there's something left over, which I also like. For example, yes, or, I know someone who likes wheels, and as long as it has wheels, right, then it's okay. And it begins like that, it begins with liking to drive for Krishna. But then at one point, it's not so much anymore about the wheels, it is about Krishna. Right? It shifts to Krishna. And driving, if it's not related to Krishna, you know, it's not devotional service. No. I also experienced it. I mentioned about the yacht, and actually before Krishna consciousness, I had a boat and I would sail on the sea with that boat and around Holland and sometimes a little towards Denmark and going a bit south. So it was lots of fun. And yeah, I liked it. It was calming my mind. And but then, yeah, it lost its taste. Right? When it wasn't devotional service, it lost its taste. It's like there's no transcendental dimension. Devotional service means there is that transcendental dimension. You can have a pizza with 7 layers, you know. I mean, did you ever have a 7-layer pizza? You haven't. It starts with a very thin crust, really thin, so that you can eat more pieces. Because if the crust is so thick, you can eat only 1 piece. So that's useless. So the crust must be very, very thin. That's the art, number 1. Then, you know, and it must not be hard and crunchy, but also not soggy. It must be cooked. Then, you know, come the layers. 7-layer pizza. Very nice. Yeah. But if it's not offered to Krishna, then there's no transcendental dimension. You know, then it's just, okay, tastes good, but that's not prasada. So, after a while, one loses its taste for such things, not prasada. It's like, we see that, you know, I travel, I used to travel a lot on planes, now not so much, but used to travel a lot on planes, and then you see that people, they eat a little, they never finish their plate. There's no such thing as finishing the plate. They eat a little, and then it's taken away. Right? Whereas, you know, you have devotees or devotee children who grow up and they eat everything. I'm not mentioning anyone in particular, but I know someone who grew up in Krishna consciousness, and even if prasadam falls on the ground, he'll eat it. Every time, you know, and his plate just totally clean. I mean, clean. There's not a crumb left on it, because it's prasadam. So this is very, very nice to have that spirit of appreciating the transcendental dimension. And yeah, so in that way, we can do anything. We can do all the material activities, connect them with Krishna, and it's fine. It doesn't need to be one thing. Right? It's okay. One can go back to Godhead by chanting a minimum of 16 rounds with the blessings of Prabhupada. And that one can get used to. In the beginning it looks like a mountain, but after a while it's not so difficult actually. And it's a matter of building up some regulation and every day chanting at the same time. And then it starts to kind of flow. And then it becomes quite easy, actually. Then sometimes circumstances throw us out, but we always go back to default settings, ideally speaking, to that same time every day. My motto is chant at the same time every day, or before that, not after that. Today I went to bed early last night, and lo and behold, guess what happened? I woke up early this morning. How could that be? It just happened. Yeah, I never expected that, but then I woke up really early, and yeah, by 4:30, 16 rounds were done. So that was nice. And I was thinking, If only it would be every day like that. Those are the days, right? Of course, now I'm trying to stay awake. That's the other side of the coin. But the point remains. The point remains is that when we chant in a regulated way, then 16 rounds is not much. And then there's so much, then we can do so many other things. And yet we are protected by these 16 rounds. So it's not necessary to chant 300,000 names, right? Or even 100,000, even 64 rounds, like, because we appeared in Srila Prabhupada's movement. It is there where we took our spiritual birth. And Srila Prabhupada gave us a service. And that service is to engage so many things. I mean, I'm sitting here on a wire. I don't like to sit on a wire, but I'm on a wire and it's connected to a phone, which is going to film everything, and whenever I made a funny face, people are gonna freeze that, cut it out, and post it on Facebook. I wish they wouldn't, but that's how it is. And even when I'm dead and gone, some people will still listen to it, and some people will say, that was terrible, and whatnot. Yeah, we're living in this world, and have to just tolerate that. Somehow or other, Prabhupada engaged his followers in working with the material energy. He engaged them in building temples. He engaged them in distributing books. He engaged them in putting on huge festivals. He engaged them in so many ways. Here also, this is not exactly what you call a bhajan kutir. A bhajan kutir is like a tiny little place. Some of the acharyas in India had a bhajan kutir. You couldn't even lie down in it. You could only sit in it. You go look, so small. Or it's just... Anyway, so a tiny place to just chant Hare Krishna. What do you need? But we've got something a little bigger. We don't need a big castle to just chant Hare Krishna. It could have been a bit smaller if it was just for chanting Hare Krishna. We need this castle to fill it up with people. Right? We need this castle to attract people so that they see, oh, this place is something. Oh, we can go there. Oh, we can stay there a bit. And there's always something going on. That is why we have this castle. So we don't have this castle so that we can chant 300,000 names. We have this castle for another purpose. And that was Prabhupada. His purpose was to bring Krishna consciousness to the modern world. And we have inherited that service somehow or other. So no time to chant 300,000 names. I chanted recently, last year, on the appearance day of my spiritual master. I wrote, I made a Vyasa Puja offering, and then at the end, in the PS, I wrote, oh, and today I'm offering 64 rounds. Okay, I'm offering you 64 rounds. So then he wrote back, what did you mean? Are you chanting only on this day 64 rounds, or are you chanting every day 64 rounds? I said, okay. He's an editor. So he always goes, what do you mean? Anyway, so I said, no, just on this occasion. He said, oh, very good. He said, I'm sure you could chant 64 rounds every day, but we have too much to do. We're too busy preaching. Okay, so there go my 64 rounds. And with that, maybe there go your 64 rounds also, because there's a lot to do. Sansara dhava nadalita loka. The whole material world is on fire. It's on fire, a blazing fire. And the people, the Lida Loka, the afflicted people. So some people have to become rain clouds and rain transcendental knowledge and mercy all over the world. So, and we can either, book distribution was one way devotees would distribute books. And I remember that I have distributed books here in the lowlands, in Holland and Belgium, in the rain, right? And you would stand out there in the rain and get soaking wet, right? Until your feet were soaking wet, something I hate, I must say. So standing in the rain, and then we would often do parkings of the supermarkets, and we knock on the car window, and they look at us. You really want me to open? Keep on knocking here. Yes. So they open it a little bit, hoping no rain will come in, and then you manage to get the book or whatever in, and it's dripping. But it's covered in plastic, so the book didn't get wet. But the water's dripping from the book on the person. And then situations like that, So some devotees, they were smart, and they did it the other way around. They would sit in the car and call the people over who were walking in the rain. Just call them over, and the people would come. And then they'd give them the book. And they'd sit dry in the car. So Radhadesh is like that style. Some people go out everywhere and preach everywhere, and go and meet the people. And others just sit in a castle waiting for people to come. But then when the people do come, don't forget to talk to them. Right? Because that also happens, What are these people doing in our castle? Gosh, there's all these people walking around in our castle. No. We are sitting in this castle to welcome all these people, obviously. That is our service. Okay, so I ended with text 42. And now, are there any questions or comments? Pandu. You're getting a microphone now.
Hare Krishna. That's nice class. So how to develop this humility, because that is very important.
I think humility is maybe very great devotees, right? They have a natural honesty. I always say honesty and humility are very close, because if I begin and I go like, I guess I'm not God, because I'm not almighty. Yeah? I guess God I'm not. Okay, I can take that off the list. Then next thing, great, extraordinary, pure devotee. I guess if I'm really honest, I got to take that on the list as well. I might have a few faults. Okay. Well, let me write them down. 3 days later, cramp in the hands, still not finished writing down the faults, you see. So then the humility increases a bit. So honesty helps when we're honest about ourselves. Honest. And where we're lacking in such honesty, then, as far as becoming humble, there are two ways to become humble. one way is to actually ourselves by realization, appreciating our insignificant position. And the other way is to not realize our insignificant position, and then we get smashed by the material energy. And when that happens regularly, which it does, then after a while it begins to dawn upon us. Then we gain a little bit of humility. So these are the two ways, either through realization or an insight, by honesty, or get smashed by the material energy. That usually works also, although it may take a while. Yeah. Anybody else? Purnatat.
Okay, Maharaj, you talked about that Haridas Thakur, he could focus very nicely, and therefore he could chant 300,000 names.
Yeah.
So I was thinking also that practice makes perfect, in the sense that Haridas Thakur was an incarnation of Lord Brahma, and Brahma, he practiced 1,000 years of the demigods chanting this mantra in order to gain perfection to create. So you can see that that is also like some kind of talent from his previous lives. So I don't want to minimize Haridas Thakur, and maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, well, we are all the sum total of our previous lives and our present life, isn't it? And when I look at you, then maybe there is a great sage sitting behind you, maybe a great, maybe in a previous life, a great devotee somewhere, yeah, who in India, who this life appeared here. Who is who when we look around? So personally, I don't think that is minimizing Haridas if we look at his previous life. Rather, it makes him even more complete, and it makes his glories more complete. I would say that's just another aspect of his glories. That not only this life he chanted, but previous lives he also chanted. Yes, as Brahma he chanted, but what did he do to become Brahma? I mean, one must be extraordinary to become Brahma. Right? So, what kind of soul is this? And is he actually an eternal associate of the Lord? Was it even, you're talking sadhana siddha, perfection by practice, but is he even more? Is he Nitya siddha? Is he even eternal, liberated associate of the Lord? Like that is like, how can we understand the depth of the perfection of Haridas? No. Someone on the very left. Yeah. That's where my neck always.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. I had a question relating to the chanting of the holy name. And a few months ago I read 2 books by Satvarupa Maharaj about chanting, about japa. And then I realized that I do not really have the desire to chant. I'm chanting because I have to. And he also recommends trying to chant more. And when I try to chant more on a regular basis, I have to really push myself to chant. And then I realized perhaps I do not even have the intense desire to chant. And then the more I thought about it, I thought it comes from lack of faith in the holy name, that I don't want to chant and don't have this intense desire, attachment to the holy name. So how does one address this personally, or how do I build this faith in the holy name?
Yeah, so the topic of faith. The living being is by nature anandamaya vyasat, pleasure seeking. And wherever we think that pleasure is to be found, that's where our energy will go. So that's the issue, is lacking in faith means that we're not 100% convinced that all happiness is there. And then we have long-term happiness, and we believe that from chanting Hare Krishna the long-term happiness comes. But what about the short-term happiness now? And we want some short-term happiness now, and right now we're not experiencing that this chanting is bringing us so much happiness. Right now it's an austerity, and therefore currently we're chanting as conditioned souls, performing our austerity, knowing that there is long-term benefit, but what about now? And that's where the struggle comes. And this is a stage of chanting, and it's known to be the clearing stage of chanting. There's the offensive stage of chanting, the clearing stage of chanting, and the pure stage of chanting in love of God. So, in the clearing stage of chanting, we're not expected to have so much taste. It's not going to be like that. It's not like, is there something wrong with me that I don't have this taste? No, we are simply still in the clearing stage and still trying to become free from that material conditioning. Therefore, it's not possible now to have so much taste. Sometimes an extraordinary moment. And now our focus, therefore, should be not so much chanting with higher taste. Our focus should be faithful chanting. And faithful chanting, loyal chanting, faithful in the sense of loyal, with loyalty, you know. And that loyalty, that faithfulness, we can get by gratitude, by appreciating. Here is Srila Prabhupada. He was old. It wasn't easy what he did. Right? And he just transcended his old age. He just gave himself 100%. And just with that same focus, with that same one-pointed focus as Haridas Thakur, but he directed this focus now to preaching and to bringing this to us. So by appreciating the sacrifice he made, then we see the followers of Srila Prabhupada and the sacrifices they made. You know, Radhadesh was not always as nice as it's now. Nowadays we have people here who are making like, you know, who are putting a golden trim and to make Radhadesh just a little more nice, you know, as if there's not enough gold, you know. But in the beginning, it was freezing. This place was deadly cold, wasn't it? Deadly. I mean, it was terrible. And I happened to just come back from India, of all places. God, from the warm weather of India to this deadly cold castle in the first winter. It was like, and the Sankirtan devotees would sleep on the attic, where now in the Brahmacharya ashram they dry the laundry. No one, you know, everyone would just sleep there. It was just austere. God, and I remember sleeping there and the devotees walking over me. The devotees were so austere. Just now I'm reading Giriraj Maharaj's book about the early days in Juhu and living on that land with the insects, with the snakes, with the rats, you know. I mean, like in the monsoon, in Bombay, you know, in Ireland, just to give you an idea, in Ireland there is 1,300 millimeter rain a year. Which country in Europe is more rainy than Ireland? Right? It rains even more than Belgium. You know. Then Bombay, 4 times more than Ireland. 4 times more. I did these statistics for some report once. 4 times more. They were living there on this land. And now we can go to Juhu and, you know, and go to the restaurant and say, I don't like the idlis in the restaurant. You know. Yes, we can do that now. All by the grace of all the austerities these devotees have done. So when we meditate on this austerity that, first of all, Prabhupada and Prabhupada's followers have performed to give us everything we have, all the support that we have in Krishna consciousness, then we can have some gratefulness. And gratefulness can give us the strength to be faithful in our chanting. Then that higher taste, that will come later. That maybe one day. And even if it doesn't come this life, we can still go back to God by mercy. And then we get it at the door of the spiritual world. Hare Krishna. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the lecture, Maharaj. I have a question about doing seva. Currently, my seva is very dynamic. I do very many things around the castle, which actually inspires me, doing it for Krishna. But I was thinking, is it a lack of steadiness not to be focused on a single seva, or have it like the majority of your day being this, but actually being all over the castle, but still doing it for Krishna?
Some people are jack of all trades. You know, that's also a service. Some are pujaris, some are cooks, and then you need a few jack of all trades who are doing everything all over the castle. So you have that one, you know. In Dutch, mannetje van alles. That's a very humble position, you know. It's simply be the surrendered soul. So the surrendered soul winds up with all the service that is sort of left over. Yeah. So if you can just be that, the surrendered soul, say, okay, no one to clean the kitchen, all right, I'll do it. That was Jayananda. Jayananda was jack of all trades. Jayananda could do everything. He could be cleaning the kitchen. Jayananda could be there as a pujari on the altar, and Jayananda could be in the kitchen cooking. Jayananda could be the security. Jayananda is famous for taking out the garbage. The story goes that one man in the street met this person who was putting all the garbage outside. You know, overalls, this, that, lots of garbage from a big building, the garbage man. And he spoke to him on the street. And then he came to the temple. And then when they asked him why he came, he said, well, I walked through the street and I met your garbage man. And he was so amazing, and then I wondered, what are the rest going to be like? So, if you can be Krishna's garbage man, that's what's better than that? Following the footsteps of Jayananda. So you should read about Jayananda. That will be very inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.